Hey guys, Chad Lyman here. I'm at home here in Vegas in my training room that I do some of my training in, and I want to share a concept with you that recently got shared with me in a class of all things, a seminary class for my faith where we teach young people early in the morning. We're called and asked to volunteer to teach. And I have a partner who teaches with me that is a therapist, and he was giving an example to the youth of how he sees problems sometimes in his practice. And these two dots, if I get a close up, the one dot, you've barely got a border around it, and the other dot, you've got quite a big border around it. And he related those two dots as two people who he might see as a therapist. And the one person where the small dot and the border around, what that represents is someone who is challenged by a circumstance in their life and they don't have a lot of resources, life resources to deal with that challenge. And so you can see the challenge is almost as big as the life resources. And he said at times he'll get patients who the challenge is bigger than their life resources, and that's where he sees a lot of the real problems. But if you have a secondary person who has a challenge, but they've accumulated through lifetime experience, training, maybe prior therapy, or just maturity over time, or a different perspective than this person gains a substantial more in their toolbox to deal with the problem. And the other issue there is this person sees the problem differently than this person. And he does couples therapy and family therapy, and he says sometimes it might be people from the same household with the same problem talking about the same problem, but they see it vastly differently. And this might be a reason. There could be other reasons. I'm not a therapist. I don't understand all those things. But he was giving this as an example to the youth of being well-rounded and accumulating life experience and education and spiritual development, emotional development, physical development, all those things. Man, this rings so true to me in regards to training and watching an officer deal with a potential problem that's a real problem that could become significant if they can't deal with it, and watching an officer with a vast amount of resources deal with the problem as well. And just like life, sometimes in law enforcement, that experience can help you deal with the problem. Hey, I've been here before, I've done this before in the field. That can be a benefit. But we've recently seen events where senior officers have made significant mistakes that have been costly to them and even costly to our profession. So one of the things, just getting away from that and just thinking about the theory that we're talking about, where I want to develop significant resources over time so that when my problems pop up in the line of my work, and right now I'm speaking specifically about being a police officer and dealing with the use of force issue or someone that doesn't want to cooperate. The reason I want to have a deep, vast pool of skills that have been developed over time through pressure, elevated heart rate, the reason I want all those things is I want the problem to not appear bigger or worse than it is, which could happen if I'm untrained. I don't have a significant amount of resources to pull from. This problem could go from being a very manageable problem to a problem that I feel like I can't manage. And then I begin to make decisions, and sometimes those decisions may stray from policy or use of force case law. And they may be, my reactions to the threat, it is a threat, but my reactions to it might become unreasonable based on all of the things going on in my preparation leading up to this event. Whereas if I train consistently, a little, a lot, I may actually see this problem for what it is and feel like I have solutions or answers to this stressful event and I can manage it. So I'll show you kind of what I wrote. I wrote, you know, that untrained point of view. And then we're going to train consistently a lot over time. And so we've got that untrained point of view. Guys, this directly relates to training and preparation. The two things you bring to a use of force event while on the clock are going to be your gear, your setup, your gear. How good is it? How bad is it? Have you tested it? That's one thing you're going to bring to that event. And then the second thing is your preparation prior to that event ever happening. And when's the last time you prepared for that event? Can you imagine being a Major League Baseball player or hitter, and maybe you have a really good season, you have such a good season, you decide you can take the whole off season off, and then you take practice off, and then you get into a game. And even though you've done this before, and you're not horrible, you're at a high level, your timing's going to be off, your ability to handle certain pitches are going to be bad, and ultimately you're not going to have a consistent high-level performance. Guys, it's the same way for us in law enforcement. If you want to have a consistent high-level performance, you need to train consistently over time, a lot, maintain that edge, maintain that ability to respond to threats under an elevated heart rate in an appropriate, reasonable manner. Many times, if you're effective in your lower level force, that'll de-escalate the problem, and then the problem becomes very, very manageable. It never becomes unmanageable to you as a law enforcement officer, boots on the ground, dealing with the threat. If you'll give yourself a vast amount of resources, and that can include experience, but if I have a long time of experience with no training and no ongoing preparation, I'm physically getting unfit, I'm not training regularly, I'm just kind of going into work and going through the motions and getting out there, and then that violent bad call occurs, or even a lower level call where the guy or gal just doesn't want to go to jail. Maybe they're high, maybe they're mentally ill, maybe they're committed to not go to jail, maybe they're a bad person, they want to hurt you. I don't know what the motivation is, it really doesn't matter. You get into that scenario with them, and this problem appears overwhelming and large to you because you haven't brought to that confrontation a vast amount of resources within yourself to deal with that problem. So focused, ongoing, regular training through a good training system. If you're going to be in law enforcement, you've got to have a heavy background in grappling and grappling skills. You have to have achieved a very functional, proficient level of skills. And if you'll do this, if you'll bring this kind of a skill set to the problem, what we're going to find is an officer who responds competently, confidently. His confidence is going to, or hers, is going to remain strong throughout the encounter because the things they're using are actually going to work and be effective. They're going to be in control. They're going to have better control over themselves, over the situation, and have a controlled ending to the situation, which is control and then custody of our bad guy. And ultimately, you're going to be more compassionate. You're not going to feel emotionally out of control. You're going to be compassionate to this person that you're serving, the community you're serving. You're going to be compassionate even if you have to use force or violence to effect an arrest. You're much likely to do that through the 4 C's of competency, confidence, control, and ultimately having a compassionate end to this encounter. That's what we're trying to create. Follow us on Instagram, C4C Operator. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook. And also reach out to us at Progressive Force Concepts, pfctraining.com, to see about training opportunities so that you're bringing a vast amount of resources to your next violent encounter, and then we can come to the best solution possible to these problems. Whatever you do, train a lot, and go out there. Be safe, guys. I appreciate you going in harm's way for all of us. I'm grateful, and be safe, guys.